Hello folks, this is Meghan Stark and I'd like to welcome you back to my desk to discuss motorcycles. If I appear to be enunciating strangely at all in this video or something looks off, I had oral surgery just a couple days ago and I'm recovering with stitches, lower portion of my face, and a little bit of swelling. But bear with me, I would love your well wishes, your emotional support, and anything like that you can offer. So today I wanted to talk about a much requested topic of starter bikes. I think the golden rule of starter motorcycles would be that you just need to know thyself. You need to know the type of person you are, if you're kind of a thrill seeker or if you are really nervous. You just have to get in touch with your concerns with motorcycling and then your concerns with yourself and then go from there. From my perspective, if you're curious how I feel about this kind of stuff, I think some of the most important criteria to think about when choosing your starter bike is the weight of the bike, the length of your inseam and the seat height of the bike, and then power, of course. The type of riding that you do the most will inform what kind of power you need. A lot of people say to start out on a 250cc bike and work your way up from there. But if you are going to buy a bike that you want to keep for a long time, you have to consider your finances. While it does make sense to start off on a really small bike if you have almost no experience riding or you're a really petite person and need the lighter weight bike, but I think there's plenty of options out there for bikes that can really grow with you, bikes that are a good medium size that you twist the throttle as hard as you want to go. If you're kind of a responsible person, you can upgrade to a bigger bike, I think, and not worry too much about it. Long story short, I don't think you have to start out on the smallest bike possible and then just move up. You just got to check in with yourself and see what you need. These are my recommendations for my favorite starter bikes, aka bikes that I've actually ridden. So I didn't want to go recommending things that I've never ridden before. I've only ridden a limited number of motorcycles, ones that I have access to. So obviously that plays a role in this list, but if you want to hear my recommendations, like a lot of you have asked, here's the lowdown. So first up, of course, I'd recommend the Ducati Scramblers. They come in an 803 size and 1100 size, and I was talking to one of the guys that work for the dealership in New York, and the fun factor is there at 803, so an 1100 is overkill for most people, but it's perfect as a starter bike and a bike that will grow with you. My bike is a 2007 Ducati Scrambler Cafe Racer, and that one's just distinct from the others with the rake and the handlebars and a couple other aesthetic things, but the engine is uniform across the board for all the other 803 size Scramblers, and I believe the engine is also the same that's in the Monster. So I think that the 803 Ducati Scramblers are fantastic starter bikes that give you enough juice to grow with you. I started out on a 250 Honda Rebel, and I pretty quickly, after trying out some other bikes, wanted to upgrade. Mine was a 2007 Honda Rebel. Even just the pitch of the engine, it just sounded like a giant scooter instead of sounding like a really robust motorcycle. I think that is one factor in picking your bike. You feel confident on a bike with the sound it makes, with the look, of course with the handling, and your ability to wrangle that thing. So I think the Scramblers are great because the handling is really natural. They are pretty low weight considering their engine size, and I think that makes them really, really approachable and really versatile. Their wet weight with all the fluids and gasoline and all that jazz in them is approximately 114 pounds, and that's pretty great for an 803cc engine. If you compare that to certain Harleys that are, I'm pretty sure they're never below 500 pounds, at least with most of the mainstream Harleys, they can weigh a lot, and unless you strip them down and do some custom work to drop some of those pounds, Harleys can be pretty heavy. Granted, they're lower to the ground, so the weight distribution is a lot easier to manage, but the Ducati Scramblers are pretty lightweight considering their power, and that's the case with a lot of sport performance bikes. I even think that some Triumphs seem a little bit weighty considering how tall they are. If you are concerned about weight, heavier bikes, you want them to have a lower seat height so that you can be more in a powerful squat to support the bike, and the taller the bike, the kind of lighter weight you want it to be, the more aggressive the riding position you want it to be lighter weight. That'll just make it easier for you to handle, and there'll be far less anxiety when you're getting accustomed to the bike and learning it. Top speed on the Ducati Scramblers are at the 803 Scramblers is also about 125 miles per hour, and I'm sure with a couple of mods, or depending on your weight on the bike, that'll change for you. So I bet, because I don't weigh very much, I could get a higher top speed out of the bike. But that's plenty for someone like me. It's plenty for someone who isn't going to be doing track days quite yet. Someone who they just need kind of maximum freeway speeds and enough juice to obviously get you out of risky situations. You don't want to take a super tiny bike on the freeway because, well, maybe the top speed is 80 miles per hour and that like gets you over the freeway speeds. You still need more than that to be able to catch up to freeway traffic when you're merging, to be able to avoid hazards. It's just kind of crazy to take a bike that tops out at 75 or 80 on the freeway. I mean, that's why mopeds aren't legal. I don't think they're legal on the freeway. And if they were, even on just regular highways, it's annoying to see them because they just can't keep up with traffic, and that's a huge criterion. If you're looking into your first bike and you're thinking, I should just go tiny and work my way up, a lot of people will try to pressure you into that, especially female riders or older riders. I see a lot of people saying like, no, you gotta start little and then move your way up. But if you're going to be doing riding that requires you to keep up with traffic, like, don't get the tiniest bike you can find. Get something that'll be able to keep up, and you can just be careful with it. You don't have to go as fast as it can possibly go. Stay within your comfort zone, and then it's great to have that room to open it up as you get more comfortable, and you get a real feeling for the power of the bike, and there's kind of a respect factor. If the bike is so tiny, it feels like a toy or it feels like a moped. Sometimes you kind of like get a little stupid with it. And that can be fun. I mean, that's, I think, why a lot of people are attracted to Honda Groms, because they're these tiny little things. They feel like toys. You can do some really silly stuff with them. But if you do want to have something that's your all-around bike, you kind of want to pick something that can keep up. One thing to consider though, if you are looking at a scrambler, is that the seat height is 32 inches. The next great starter bike that I'd recommend would be the Honda Rebel. Now, there are two distinct versions of the Rebel now. Ever since 2017, when they completely redesigned it, they gave it a new front wheel, they gave it a new tank style, a new seat style. And before 2017, definitely that modern classic look. If you get a used Honda Rebel that's more than a couple years old, you'll get the old style. But otherwise, I highly recommend the new style. Now they come in 300cc and 500cc's, and I think that 500 would be a sweet spot for someone who wants a smaller bike, a lower bike, and a really easy to handle, pretty lightweight bike as well. All the upgrades seem like they just only improve experience, so I think it's probably pretty comparable to the one that I used to ride, but I'll check back in with you when I get a chance to ride a 2017 or 2018 or 2019 Honda Rebel, but I'm so excited about them. Stylistically, they look amazing. You're gonna turn heads. They look so good. They look like halfway between a Harley and a Ducati, and I just really love the look. The seat looks amazing. The handlebars look comfortable. They're not too high up, and they're also not too aggressive and low. Yeah, they widened out that front wheel, and it all looks great, and it's got, you know, all the modern braking that you'll ever need. Because it comes in that 500 size, I think it will scale up with a rider. The top speed is about 108 miles per hour on that bigger engine size. That's freeway safe if you ask me. If you're trying to cruise, this will be a perfect bike for you. It won't be as snappy as some of the sport performance bikes, but it's a great maybe introduction if you're considering a Harley but don't know if you want to throw all your money at a bike like that. If you want a cheaper introduction and a lighter weight bike to see just how you like riding, if that's your aesthetic preference and that's the type of riding you'll be doing a lot more of, this is going to be a great bike for you. I'm so excited about the newer Honda Rebels. I can't wait to ride one myself. If you do want something a little bit more aggressive and a bit quicker and you don't mind a higher seat, obviously this bike is a lot taller than the Rebel, then I recommend the CBR series by Honda. I've ridden both the CBR 500R and the 600RR, and they're a lot of bang for their buck and for their weight, and they can really pick up. So the top speed on the 600RR is 155 miles per hour, so that thing can really go. Your top speed is going to range somewhere between 115 and 155. I'm pretty sure the 600RR can hit more than 155 than the 500 can. It's a great all-around sport bike. They're pretty popular, they're easy to maintain, they're affordable, and I think that's another key factor in your starter bike. If you don't want to bother with all that Ducati stuff because of the maintenance schedule and the upfront cost, these Hondas are so good for that. They're cheap, there's parts aplenty, and there's a lot of people who will service them outside of just the dealers. If cost is a big factor in riding, which it is for most people, or they don't want to have a whole portion of their budget just for motorcycle maintenance, these Japanese bikes are really great for that. And despite the power and top speed on these bikes, they're still quite lightweight, ranging in the low 400s for both of them, 423 or 410. So that's another perk. And as a bonus round, I'd say that the Ducati Monster is also a fantastic starter bike, or, honestly, another one of those all-around bikes that can grow with you, similar to the Scrambler. So it'll be a little bit of an upfront investment, but it's got great handling, relatively lightweight considering the engine size. It's a very popular bike. There's a lot of ones that you can find used. It's an attractive bike, and if you don't like the look of the fairings, but you want a more sport performance bike, it's a perfect solution as a naked bike, which I think by now a lot of you know that aesthetically I definitely prefer naked bikes or more modern classics or retro inspired bikes. Not opposed to sport performance bikes with fairings, but it's just not my favorite look. So I hope you found that informative, or at least just interesting to listen to. I'd love to hear from you what bike you started out on, or what newer bikes that you're seeing would be great for starter bikes, or what you look for in a starter bike, what you'd recommend to other people. I'm just one person with my priorities, and I want to hear yours. Alright, I think I've sufficiently agitated my surgical site. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to come back and hear more from me and see more of me on the bike and things I gotta say about them. And if you want to support me further, go check out Great Lakes Supply Co. If you want to support me further, go ahead and check out Great Lakes Supply Co. It's my little company, and I got big dreams for it. So go to greatlakesupplyco.com and follow us on Instagram to see more. You can follow my personal account on Instagram as well to see some motorcycle self-portraits and other shenanigans I get into during this winter. Hopefully there is still ample stuff for me to do despite the impending snow, but we've got a lot of fun things that happen in the wintertime in Wisconsin that are motorcycle related, more than you'd expect. So we'll see about some cool ice racing and custom motorcycle shows and whatever else I can get into. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.